Hello everybody, Austin Hill Shaw here, founder of Creativity Matters and author of The Shoreline of Wonder on Being Creative. So nice to be with you this morning. It's a beautiful morning in Oakland, California right now, talking to you from my office in Old Oakland. And today we're going to talk about something that's really dear to my heart, and that is the relationship between creativity and healing, the relationship between creativity and healing. And I think that this is one of the areas that is often overlooked when we think about the realm of creativity and innovation, is this capacity, this ability to actually heal people who are both involved in the creative process and those who benefit or are inspired or are touched or whose lives are improved through other people's creations and innovations. And I really want to break it down today for you in a way that's easy to understand so that you can see really something that's been dear to my heart for years. I want to go back to 2008 when I was actually on a backpacking trip in the high Sierras in a place called the Humphreys Basin. And I've been going on trips like this for the last decade, where I'll go up either by myself or with my best friend William and go and practice and just be in nature. Typically I hike in, but I don't do a whole lot besides meditate and swim and read. So I was up there and I happened to bring a book called Creativity by Mihail Csikszentmihalyi. And in this book, it was all about creativity and the creative process. And in it, he was talking about what are the defining attributes of creative persons. If we can take anything out and say, this is what creative people do, what might that thing be? And one thing he said is, what are some of the defining characteristics of what it means to be creative or a creative person? And the thing he said is that creators and so-called creative persons are complex. Okay, there's a complexity about them in that they're willing to shapeshift in order to solve or resolve whatever creative project they're working on. And he gave the examples. For example, sometimes creative persons appear to be lazy, and sometimes they appear to be very work-oriented. Sometimes they appear to be masculine. Sometimes they appear to be feminine. Sometimes they seem very humble, and sometimes they seem very proud. And the point of that is that they are shape-shifting all the time. Now, the other aspect of that is that by shape-shifting, by being willing not to put themselves in a box, like I'm either this way or that, they are undoing what Carl Jung would call the shadow. They're working with their shadow material. If a person is not engaged in a creative pursuit or is not doing something beyond what they think they should be or people think they should be, they're often following out other people's stories about what a person should be or not. Okay? Now, a so-called creative person, that is one who is activating their creativity, they don't play that game. They find the creative process, whatever it is that they're working on, again, be it artistic pursuit, being a business deal, being some sort of a scientific or technological exploration, they put the exploration of whatever they're doing, the path that they're on, to resolve something, to make the place something more beautiful, to figure something out. They put that ahead of the shoulds, how they should be. And basically, what Mihail Csikszentmihalyi said is that these folks are willing, again, to explore all different aspects of what it means to be human in order to bring forth whatever solution they're looking for. Does that make sense? Okay. So, with that as a backdrop, I read that book so I came across this passage in his book called Creativity in 2008. And when I read that there's this healing component, that people are becoming psychologically more mature, more adept, with a larger range of experience through the creative process, I literally got up and started dancing. I was so excited by that. I've been studying this since 2004, and now 4 years into it, this is like the Rosetta Stone. It's like, yes, creativity is not just something that we do in our spare time when we take care of more important things. It confirmed a hunch that I had all along, that creativity is a profound thing that is part of who we are. And it's because it is part of who we are, we want to engage it. In the same way a meadowlark wants to sing, in the same way a cheetah wants to run, in the same way a salmon wants to spawn. It is part of who we are, and it's something that we want to carry it out. And because it is part of who we are, it brings us a great deal of satisfaction when we actually do that. Okay? So these are the different levels of healing as it relates to creativity. Okay? The first has to do with the aha moment, what I call the experience of creative insight. We have that sense where something comes rushing to us, something that's ineffable, meaning it's beyond words, and it has some sort of absolute truth associated with it. Okay? And you've all had experiences like that where just suddenly you have a realization about your life that is very different than it was before. So, in traditional language, they would say that is the experience or the return to wisdom, which is primordial knowing before thought intervenes. Primordial knowing before thought intervenes. When we are having a moment of creative insight, we are no longer in the realm of words, we are transcending language altogether. We're also transcending the patterns, okay, the fixed patterns that are preventing us from seeing the world in this sort of new way to begin with. So that's the first type of healing that is available through the creative process. And that is the healing of transcendence, rising above limiting beliefs or dogmas or long-held views on the world that don't necessarily serve us, is the first type of healing that is available through the creative process. I mean, we all know what it's like to experience that aha moment and how it enlivens us in some way. And it really presents new ways of thinking about our lives. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's related to a specific project. Sometimes those aha moments are life-changing within themselves. They give us a whole new sense of what's possible. And that, my friends, is incredibly healing. Okay? The ability to see beyond whatever's keeping us stuck is one of the greatest healing processes that there is. Okay? So that's one, the transcendence that's associated with creative insight. Next, we have what we call manifestation. And manifestation, again, is the work that we do in order to bring our creative insights into the world. Okay? And manifestation always happens in systems, okay? We're doing things in order so that we're working with others, we're working with materials, we're working with things outside ourselves so that those aha moments can be shared in some way with others. Now, when we start to manifest something and it starts to affect people more than just ourselves, it has a quality of transformation, okay? And that's the second type of healing that I want to talk about. That when we manifest something, when we bring something in, when we present a new idea, a new way of being, a new product, a new service that delights a person in a certain way or reduces drudgery or creates just another new possibility that people weren't necessarily expecting, that is the realm of transformation, which is also known as innovation. Innovation and transformation are the same thing. And truly innovative things in the world, if it's truly innovative, it also has a healing quality to it, a healing quality. It reestablishes wholeness in some ways. It fulfills some potential that other people couldn't see before. Sometimes it could be a medical innovation or a way of relating to people that is more profound. We can think of the axial age, the time, a couple thousand years ago where people were moving from really kind of barbaric acts towards one another to these ideas of treat others as you want to be treated yourself. The golden rule, teachings of Jesus, teachings of the Buddha, teachings of Lao Tzu and Confucius, all these different things that started to come in around that time where there was a new ways of being that were being translated into things that would become religious practices and spiritual values. That's another type of innovation. So again, innovation is associated with transformation, all right? And it heals us by bringing new things that affect us at the cultural level. So that's transformation, okay? So again, we have transcendence, we have transformation, and now we have this space in the middle, okay? The space in the middle. And that space in the middle is associated with what I call self-expression. And self-expression is our ability to draw upon these two poles. The one, the pole of creative insight, which again is about something coming to us, as well as the pole of manifestation, which is about us efforting to go out in the world. In that in-between space is something that I call self-expression. And self just applies, there's something bigger than us that's coming through. It's being expressed through us, okay? So self-expression, either when we're doing it in the moment, when we're creating by ourselves, or we're performing, or we are, again, drawing upon the experience of insight and our ability to manifest those insights at the same time, that creates the possibility of what is called transmutation. Transmutation. What is transmutation? Well, a metaphor for transmutation comes from alchemy, all right? And again, this is just a metaphor. It's the idea of transforming lead into gold, the idea of translating lead into gold, taking a base substance and turning it into a precious substance, okay? Now, transmutation is that same thing that can happen in the world. For example, in our own lives, when we go into things that are difficult, when we go into experiences or themes or things that are scary or challenging or traumatic for us, and we work through them, that is a process of transmutation. We're taking stuck energy, trauma, sadness, limited ways of viewing the world, and we're shifting it and turning that into fuel for our own expression. That is the process of transmutation. We can also think of it in terms of different products that are out there that actually take things that have been old or discarded or that are not working anymore and bring new life into them. For example, in green architecture, okay, one of the sort of emerging fields of the last 2 decades, often people will go out and look for discarded objects and bring them forward and use them in patterns in ways that makes them beautiful. So they're no longer just trash, they become art. So we're transmuting the experience of something just being a discarded or wasteful object, and we're transforming it, transmuting it into something very different. Now, at the most profound level is this healing that occurs when we take events, human events typically, and we bring a new understanding or a new possibility from it. What sticks out in mind to me in terms of a work of transmutation is the Vietnam War Memorial, Maya Lin's Vietnam War Memorial. You know, typically war memorials before really glorified war. You know, often it's people raising flags or heroic men or women in battle, those sorts of things. But it's showing this sense of that war is great, war is wonderful, war is something to be proud of. You should feel honored to be able to fight for something, okay? Now, Vietnam was a very different experience. It was an experience that was basically, again, taking place in this small country in Southeast Asia during the Cold War, okay? And young men and women were going over to Vietnam from the United States to fight in a war that a lot of people on the home front were protesting. And that was difficult for a lot of people. Here's a statistic. More people died once they came home from Vietnam by taking their own lives than actually died in combat. That's the sort of scarring that was involved from that particular war effort. So Maya Lin had this concept saying, I want to cut the earth and polish the scar. Not to glorify war, but to show the impact that it had on all the men and women who were there, and give people an experience of what it's like to, again, walk along a substance. As you go in, you start to go down this hill, and the wall of names that were dying in the fighting gets higher and higher and higher. And then there's a turning point, which was at the apex of the war, where the fightings would start to dissipate. But still, what you see are all these names of people who died, etched in black granite, and you can see your own reflection in that. That is a work of transmutation. It's a work that's specifically there to say, hey, this was not a good experience. This was not a profound and wonderful and joyous thing that happened over there. Many people came back broken from that. And we need to remember that. And in the remembering and recognizing, let's not do this again, okay, which is a slow lesson for human beings, but having that reminder, let's not do this again, that starts to bring in a new way of being, which is what I call transmutation. It's the taking of the old substance, like let's fight against people, okay, in this case war, that it's good to have enemies, that enemies somehow give your life meaning by fighting for a cause, and say, no, let's work towards a bigger level of healing here, okay? So, I hope this has been helpful for you so that you can really start to see, again, the healing potential that lies in any creative act. Creativity is not something that's frivolous. It's not something that you should just brush off. It is an amazing opportunity all the time in order to connect with something bigger than yourself, okay? And to make the world truly a better place through the acts of transcendence, transformation, and transmutation, okay? So thank you. This has been Austin Hill Shaw, founder of Creativity Matters and author of The Shoreline of Wonder on Being Creative, reminding you to connect deeply, to make a difference, and to go out and inspire creativity in others. Thank you.